Welcome back. Got one, Why Boys Are Checking Out of Life by Jordan Peterson. I know he normally be hitting the nail on the head, so let's see what he's talking about.
I saw, hypothetically, an increased war on male play and interest preferences that made itself manifest, I would say, with the hyperfeminization of the school system. And then as well, there was the communicated insistence that male ambition was toxic, that competitive games were bad, and that, to the degree that the patriarchy is a corrupt institution, that any sign of that demand for victory, let's say a competitive victory on the male front, was actually a sign of psychopathology. So I think part of the reason that the boys have been demoralized or are failing to participate is because they've been demoralized, and that's provided them also with an excuse to be irresponsible. Look, Nietzsche said you're best punished for your virtues. So the conclusion is if you're going to be punished for being ambitious and goal-directed, then that's going to be very effective as a punishment, but it also gives you every reason to bow out and to be irresponsible. So I don't know what you think about that in combination with the things that you're seeing on the more specifically technological front.
Yeah. Well, so the boys' story.
Honest truth is, that's the biggest reason that men are checking out. Men are giving up because everything that we do, we have been biologically programmed to do, historically programmed to do. Our grandpappies have been doing since the beginning of time. Is now toxic. You know what I'm saying? It's now toxic masculinity. You got to think about it. Why are women, this DEI stuff, not to get political, but this DEI stuff, women are being pushed over men in the workforce when they're less capable. They are less capable, but just because they're a woman or they're a certain race, they might get pushed up, but especially women. You know what I'm saying? You will have a woman CEO that cannot do her job, and then a man that adds probably $1 billion in revenue, but he'll only still getting $30,000 a year, can't even afford rent. And you wonder why men don't want to work. Men don't want to add value to a business when they don't get any of the value back out of return. Every time you try to chase the next step, you're seen as toxic, psychopath. You know what I'm saying? Toxic masculinity, abusive. You can't even tell your wife that you don't agree with something without it being domestic violence. You can't even tell your kids that you don't agree with them doing something, or unless it's child abuse. You live your own life. That's why men are giving up. Men are moving overseas. Men are stopped dating. Men are
Story is different from the girl's story, and it's a story of checking out of the real world. And I draw from this in part on Richard Reeves, whose wonderful book of Boys and Men. He points out that boys and men used to dominate the economy and society in many ways, but beginning in the 70s, we get the transition away from physical work and longshoremen and strength and to a service economy. And we get, and girls are rising, which is great. But as girls are rising, boys are not rising too. In some ways, they're falling. And by 1980, I think it is, half of college students were female. Now it's 60% are female. So boys have been kind of checking out of school, checking out of the workplace. The electronic world, the online world's gotten better and better, more and more attractive for boys. They're spending more time on video games. So it is a story of male achievement, male motives being kind of hijacked or turned towards trivial, pointless pursuits that don't add up to anything. And so I would agree with you about the discouragement of male ego, ambition, desire to be great, the subversion of that into just wanting to do, higher up on a video game leaderboard, I suppose. But, I'd love to ask you, because I only really began turning to the boys' story about 3 or 4 years ago when I began working on the book. You've been talking to young men for a long time now. Mm-hmm. What do you see when you look at the malaise among young men? I mean, part of it is what you just said about, but just what's your diagnosis about what's happening to young men? Is it depression, anxiety? Is it hopelessness? What do you see happening?
Greer and Catherine, their 4-year-old son, was diagnosed with a degenerative illness. That
Well,
Now, let's just be completely honest here. The reason why men play video games, the reason why men do other things, is to escape the truth, escape the harsh truth. Now, I don't agree with it. I don't have a video game. I deleted Instagram. I deleted TikTok. I deleted Facebook. I've got rid of my PS4. You know what I'm saying? I have a PS3 from like freaking what? It's 15 years ago. I don't play it. I haven't played it in like probably 6-7 months. The honest truth is, men do this stuff though because you can't do anything else. You can't chase a goal. You can't talk to women. You can't do something that gives you purpose. Men are created to drive off of purpose. It's like putting gas in a car. The man is the car, but he needs gas to go. He needs fuel to go. He needs something to get him to go. You know what I'm saying? I believe that yes, discipline is the main source, but you need inspiration and motivation to give you a reason to stay disciplined. You get what I'm saying? So when men can't do anything without being toxic, when you can't afford to take care of a family off of one income or even off of two incomes, there's no woman worth talking to. You can't even raise your own family without being domestically abusive or child abusive. You know what I'm saying? You can't do anything on your own. The government always has to get involved, come and claim property taxes, give you certificates so you can't even live off grid and escape them. All this BS you have to do every day of your life. You know what I'm saying? Men just give up.
a huge part of it's fractured demoralization. Like one of the things I've really noticed, it's quite the stunning and horrifying thing to see. You know, I think the biggest impact what I've said on young men has been my drawing of a relationship between meaning, adventure, and responsibility. It's like, well, and you know, you touch on this in your book, like one of the things you point out. So let me take a bit of a sideways route here. When the big five theorists were laying out the semantic webs associated with negative emotion, neuroticism, McCrae, in particular with the Neo Big Five, noticed that self-consciousness and neuroticism were so tightly associated semantically that they were indistinguishable. So here's the rule. This is the rule, and you allude to this. If you think about yourself, you are going to be anxious and miserable. Those are the same thing. And you know that when you're possessed by a bout of self-consciousness. It's not pleasant. Okay, so then you might say, well, what do you do about that? And one answer would be, well, don't focus on yourself. But you can't not focus on yourself. You have to focus on something else. Okay, so what do you focus on if you're male? Well, you focus on responsible service to the future and others. Well, why? Well, because that gives you what you described as that slow dopamine kick. It's like that's where, and that's not happiness, it's meaning. Those are very different things. Happiness is that like hedonistic kick that can be hijacked by the AI machines. Meaning is less intense but more sustaining. Okay, so where do you find that? And that's simple. You find that in the adoption of maximal responsibility. That's burden, that's challenge, that's play if you do it right. That's also the sacrifice that civilization is founded on. And one of the things that we might note, Jonathan, is that the default man is useless. Right? So, so for example, I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but I don't really care. So, in the Arab world, broadly speaking, the Arab world produces about as much as Spain. Okay, well, why? Well, it's part of the reason is the men don't work. Now, that's not surprising. What's surprising is that any men ever work, because work is difficult and it requires sacrifice. And so the question is, and this is the
And when he says work, he doesn't mean a 9-to-5 job. He means be productive in life. He means be a productive man. The default man is useless, just like the default woman, but the default man is even more useless. You know, as a man, you have to be able to do mainly 3 things: protect, provide, and conquer. Protect, provide, and conquer. You have to be able to do those three things. If you can't protect what's yours, the family you care about, you can't provide for them, and you can't go out and conquer goals, conquer other people if you have to, conquer whatever you have to conquer, you're useless. It doesn't have to be a job. In modern day, the examples might be starting a business, might be getting some kind of online income, getting your body in shape, that way you're physically able. I mean, just think about it. 30% of men from ages 18 to 24, I think it was, said that one push-up is uncomfortable. You're telling me you're 18 to 24, probably the most strongest and most able years of your life, and doing one push-up is uncomfortable? I can do 61 in a row. Yes, that's not a lot, but I've been working on it. I've lost 19 pounds. I mean, come on now. You have to be physically able. You have to chase goals. You have to provide. That is the purpose of a man. That is the purpose of a man. And a lot of y'all not going to like that. You're going to have to work for the rest of your life. You will. A woman will never sit there and look at you. Your kid will never sit there and look at you. And your God, whoever you believe in, will never sit there and look at you doing nothing and say, I admire that, I respect that. Your kid's not going to say, I want to be like that. Your friend's not going to say, I respect that. No. And a lot of people can say, well, my goal is not to please my kids, my friends, my wife, a girl, God. Then once again, what are you doing here? Your purpose as a man is to serve something to society. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's having kids, whether it's starting some kind of nonprofit organization, whether it's spreading the word. It don't matter what it is. Your goal is to do something purposeful. If you're a weak, fat, lazy man that sits there and plays video games, it doesn't work, doesn't make any money, doesn't provide for his family, doesn't do anything, you are a failure, useless man, like they said. I'm sorry to break it to you. That's why I'm working on myself. I've lost 19 pounds. I've deleted Instagram, TikTok. I don't play video games. I've been working on my YouTube. I've grown over 250 subscribers in the last 6 weeks. What else do you want from me? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I lost 19 pounds. What?
Logical question. The question of initiation. How do you socialize and civilize men? Because the default is going to be trivial hedonism. Of course it is, because it's easier. Of course it's going to be the default. The default's always what's simpler and more fragmented. Well, you tell them a story of heroic responsibility, and you draw, even more importantly, you draw a connection between responsibility and adventure. And so it's so interesting because so many men have reflected this back to me, and I literally mean thousands, because I've said, what you do is you look for the maximum burden. And you note that in service to that, you find meaning. And so you can do that with truth. You can do it with responsibility. And the young men will come up to me, and they do this daily, I would say, and say, 5 years ago, I decided I was going to start taking responsibility for myself and tell the truth. And like everything's changed in consequence, everything. And so what we're doing this bigotry of soft expectations with men. And one of the things I got right at the beginning was, see, the male attitude towards younger men isn't the feminine ethos of acceptance. So you could imagine the dynamic in a family is that this is a stereotype, but I'm going to go with it anyways. The mother says to the child, you're lovely the way you are. And the father says, I kind of like you, but you could be a lot more. And those are good. Those are really good together, because when the child goes out from the mother, he's encouraged, let's say, by the masculine, go out. And then when he's exhausted, or she's exhausted for that matter, she can come back to the mother and be accepted. And that's the standard pattern of, security seeking and then exploration. Now, what I've been doing with young men is saying to them, you could be a lot more than you are. And it's an insult in a way, because it means you're not good enough now, but it prioritizes the optimized future self. And that's actually hugely advantageous, and so I think what we're doing that's wrong with young men, well, and I think we're doing it to young women too in a more subtle manner is not asking, not requiring, or even demanding nearly enough. So they default to trivial hedonism, obviously.
It was good. Spit a lot of truth. I mean, here's the honest thing about it. Like I said, you're going to have to work the rest of your life. There's no way around it. When he was talking about, the mom and dad, don't think of it as trying to be perfect. It's not trying to be perfect. It's constantly getting better until you're at a point where, you've accomplished everything there is to accomplish as a man. You know what I'm saying? There is that point. People will say there's never a point where you finish life. There is a point. When you raised kids and grandkids, when you've served, when you've spread the word to thousands of people, when you've given back to society, whether it be a nonprofit organization, whether it be helping disabled kids, saving animals, planting trees, it don't matter what happens. There is a point where you've accomplished enough in life to be considered successful. You've accomplished the purpose of life. That's what you work towards. You have to figure it out for yourself, but it cannot be video games. It cannot be chasing 100 women. It cannot be whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you have a real family structure, your dad is going to push you to be better. You know what I'm saying? While your mom is going to say you are accepted. That is true. That's how my parents are. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. Whenever you feel like you're not being enough as a man, your mom will let you know that you're accepted, you are enough. And then your dad will push you to do better. So while you're constantly being pushed to do better, you never feel like you're not enough. That's how that family structure is supposed to push you as a man. Let me know what y'all thought about it in the comments. I'll be back. I make videos every day, so subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 500 subscribers. It is June, July, August. Let's get to 500 subscribers by August. And that's it. Take care of yourself. Get in shape. Build some income. Chase your goals. Don't let nobody persuade you away from it. And remember, no matter what happens, as long as you're alive, life goes on.